Hello and welcome to the January 21st edition of whatever the hell this show is. We got to see Dynamite tonight. The main event was Swerve vs. Kevin Knight. We'll get to that in a minute. We started off the show very strong. MJF came out, cut a little bit of a promo, just being MJF, like, I'm better than you. Everybody needs to, like, get in line. If you want a shot at my title, you got to make the wins. And then Brody King came out and basically said, hey, my turn. I'm up next. Called it. Shotgun. Let's go. And MJF was like, all you've been doing is fighting jobbers. And yeah, I mean, realistically, all he's been doing is fighting jobbers lately. So he's got to step it up and have some matches against, like, bigger names, like more main event talent, according to MJF. And he's not wrong. So I'm looking forward to Brody King going up against anyone and everyone that'll give him a chance, and I hope he does stack some wins so that we can see what he's capable of. I hope that one day we can see Brody King versus MJF. I think that would be a very interesting match, since Brody King is, like, I don't know, 6 inches taller than MJF, and they have very different fighting styles, whatever. But I think that would be good. I think that would be fun. And then Brody barked at MJF, and MJF almost fell out of the ring. It was a whole thing. Goofy wrestling for life. Let's go. Right after that, we had a promo from the Jet Speed Cowboys. That's what I'm going to call them. I don't know what everybody else is calling them right now, but Jet Speed Cowboys just seems fine to me. So Hangman was essentially like, hey, you guys got this. You know, Bailey, here's how you can kind of go into your match tonight. Knight, here's how you got this. It's going to be a great match. Go get him, Tiger. And then they all disappeared into the ether until their respective matches, which actually Mike Bailey was up next, and he was taking on Samoa Joe. That was a very interesting match because Bailey's got the speed, Joe's got the strength. I couldn't really tell which one of them had more stamina for the whole thing, but that's neither here nor there. I'm not worried about it. In the end, Joe did end up winning. So once again, 2026 is for the heels, and I want that to continue. Obviously, there's going to be some differences in that, and those are things that we'll touch on as we go. But as far as everybody, like, climbing up the rankings, it really does seem like the heels are going to take it this year. So far, I'm not wrong. With the few special exceptions. Again, I'll touch on that in a minute. After Bailey and Joe, we had the Death Riders versus the Don Callis family. Specifically, it was Mox, Yuta, and Garcia up against Lance Archer, Rocky Romero, and Hechicero. It was a street fight. It was street fight rules, so weapons were involved. Lots of shenanigans were involved. There was a point where Garcia had Hechicero on the entry ramp, and he was beating up his leg inside of a trash can. Like, he squished the trash can. He was just really taking it to Hechicero, and then he put Hechicero in an ankle lock, and Hechicero started to tap out on the entry ramp, and it's a street fight, so, like, it's no DQ, but it's not false count anywhere, so that tap out didn't count. Like, the match had to end in the ring, so I feel like there's going to be a little bit of confusion there, even though they tried to fix it on commentary, which, by the way, Taz is back. Fuck yeah, bring Taz into everything. His commentary is so ridiculous and so on point, and he deserves all the good things. So that entire match was a lot of back and forth. There was a time where Lance Archer chokeslammed Wheeler Yuta over the guardrail into the Timekeepers area, through their table, absolutely demolished the whole area with just the one move. Then Archer brought a table into the ring, and he tried to hit Moxley into it. Moxley reversed, tried to go after Archer to get him through the table. That got reversed, and then finally Archer ended up getting Moxley in a power slam position, and he just ran at the table that was propped up in the corner of the ring, and it just went sploosh, and wood went everywhere, and it was crazy. Marina Shafir got involved at one point because while Archer was setting up the table, she slipped into the ring, stood there like, I'm a badass. And then when Archer turned around and saw her, she was like, don't you fucking hurt my guys, or like, I'll fuck you up or whatever. And so he went to... Archer went to chokeslam Shafir. He picked her up, and she's little and he's massive. So when he picked her up, she brought her legs up, wrapped them around his neck, and then yanked back real quick and got him into like a triangle sleeper, which was fascinating, the way that she was able to pull that off. I mean, like I said, she's a smaller stature person. He's a giant monster. So with him just picking her up for the chokeslam, it was more than enough room for her to get up there, and then she pulled his arm in and got him into the triangle sleeper. But it's late. And so that was just a thing for a minute until Mox got up and like rectified the situation, and then Shafir scampered off. After Mox got power slammed through the table, though, when he started to come back to reality, he slipped out of the ring, went under the ring, and pulled out a board. It was 5 by 2.5, 5x3 board, just outlined in barbed wire with a center mass of glass and thumbtacks. And we don't get that kind of ridiculousness on regular television. That is some pay-per-view bullshit. And so he slipped that into the ring and was trying to put Rocky Romero onto it via a suplex, and that didn't work. So while Mox was fighting Romero during all of this, Archer got back into the ring and chokeslammed Moxley onto that whole thing. And he had rough estimate 24 thumbtacks in his back, maybe a dozen pieces of glass, but they kind of flaked away really quick, and he had to roll through the barbed wire to get off of it. And it was... There wasn't a whole lot of blood, but just the fact that they would do that spot on regular TV is new and interesting and fun. I'm for it. Like, I had no issue with it. And because this was heel group versus heel group, the dominant heel group of the night was the Death Riders. They did end up getting the win. Daniel Garcia got Rocky Romero into the Dragon Tamer. Rocky was trying to fight it, and then Mox came over and gave him a curb stomp while all of that was happening, and Rocky passed out. He just was done. They called the match, and the Death Riders got the V. So, good job, Death Riders. I look forward to seeing what you're going to do here in the future. I'm still thinking that sometime by the end of March, I did give it 90 days at the beginning of this year. So sometime around the end of March, I really do feel like something's going to happen with the Death Riders as far as Moxley may not be part of it anymore. My timing might be off, but I'm gonna hold firm to the 90 days. I called it. I'm going to stick with it. Let's see if I win any money on this. Then we got a mildly quick promo. It wasn't the longest promo we've had even just in the last month, but it definitely wasn't as short as others have been from the Triangle of Madness. And Tekla was once again just being like, hey, Stat, let's go, you and me, title shot. I pinned you. You owe me. I'm going to take it. I will drown you in misery and toxicity and venom and whatever, right? And then Julia Hart took a shot at Willow Nightingale and was like, hey, you took the title from me 2 years ago. We never had the rematch that I was owed for the TBS title. You have it back now. I'm coming after you. So not only are we getting Stat vs. Tekla next week, we're getting Julia Hart vs. Willow Saturday, which will be interesting. And Harley Cameron called out Sky Blue a little bit, not quite for a match, but just like, hey, if you try to interfere in Willow's match, I'll punch you in the face. Like, that was just a whole... Harley Cameron brings me so much joy from the shenanigans that she throws. And so whatever happens Saturday, happens Saturday. And if Julia Hart brings back the TBS title, cool. If not, it's fine. We're still working 2026 as the year of the heel. So we'll take that and we'll move forward. We'll see what happens Saturday. We'll see what happens next Wednesday. Next Wednesday, we've also got Mark Briscoe versus El Clone, which is going to be good. And sometime in the next week, we've got Roderick Strong versus Claudio for the CMLL heavyweight title. So I'm curious where that's going to go. But like I said, we're just going to have to wait and see. Then we got a match with two new signees. I have their names here. Let me grab it. It was Alec Price and Jordan Oliver. Two brand new guys, fresh off the indies, who apparently have been making waves. And they took on FTR. And it wasn't a squash match, which is really nice. I'm super happy that it did not turn out to be a squash match. It was a very good, I believe, 10-minute long bout. Lots and lots of back and forth, but eventually FTR did get the upper hand and pulled off the victory. But it was a good showing for Price and Oliver. So the two of them coming in as a tag team is going to be very interesting. It's something that we're going to have to keep our eyes on. I'm curious where we go from here, since they came in and immediately got a match with FTR. I have no idea who they're going to try and bring in next, as far as like who they're going to go up against. I couldn't tell you who they're going to get their first win against, but it was a really, really good showing. And once again, we got Big Stoke in the big wheelchair made of gold. And I enjoy that immensely, and I don't know why. It's so stupid, but it works. And we've got helpbigstoke.com to help with his medical stuff, I guess. I don't know. I typed it in real quick during a commercial break, and apparently, allegedly, they've already got over $1 million raised for him. If that's a real number from actual people like donating money, I don't know what they're going to do with that money, but it's fascinating that there's already over $1 million supposedly set aside for this from fans for Stoke. So I'm curious. I really want to know what happens with that money in the end. I might keep my eye on it and keep you guys posted. It's just a goofy little thing that is so out of the realm of anything else that's been going on, and I hope something fun comes of it. But like I said, we'll see. Then we got a Babes of Wrathlander return promo at the Triangle of Madness, everybody accepting their matches. So like I said, so Saturday, Willow and Hart. Next Wednesday, Stat and Tekla. Sky Blue is in there. Harley Cameron's in there. Everything is just gonna get figured out, and it's gonna be fine. We're gonna burn through this. Everybody's gonna come out the other side looking better. It's really gonna be a boost. I really don't know if they're gonna exchange either title. They could drop the TBS title to Hart just to take one off of Willow, since she's already half of the tag champs with Harley. But they could also they could be like, oh, the tag team is Willow and Harley, and then the two champions are Stat and Willow. Like, they could just leave it like that for quite a while. Either way, I'd be fine with it, although I really want to see the Triangle of Madness win some gold and have something going for them in that realm. So, eyes peeled. The next match was very interesting. Two Canadian boys, Josh Alexander versus Kenny Omega. Apparently, there's been a decade's worth of animosity between the two of them in some form or another, or at least from Josh's perspective. And it was a really good match. It really did what it needed to. It put Josh into a slightly higher echelon as far as performance-wise. It showed that Kenny is still able to perform even after having his medical issues. So it was a lot of back and forth, and which was good because neither guy really had the upper hand until right near the end, when Josh seemed to be out of it as far as like losing a lot of his strength. Omega definitely took advantage. There was a moment where Omega was smashing Josh's head into the commentary desk, and of course Don Callis was on commentary, and Don started to lip off to Omega, and then Omega lunged at him, and Don jumped up, ripped off the headphones, and disappeared into the crowd, and Omega followed him for about 30 feet before turning around and coming back ringside. It was just very entertaining top to bottom. They exposed the floor at one point, and Omega, like, they pulled up the mats at ringside, and Omega hit Josh with the dragon suplex. The dragon suplex? That doesn't sound right, but that's what I'm going with. Where it's like the double underhook and the quick snapdragon suplex. There it is, snapdragon suplex. Onto the exposed concrete. Then he got back in the ring, and when Josh got up, he did a tope suicida out and ended up landing on his ass on the cement. So I don't know how Kenny didn't snap his tailbone in half right there, because I've broken mine for much less than flying at 10 miles an hour and taking a downward trajectory into solid concrete. So it was a very good match. But here's where my 2026 is for the heels thing falls apart a little bit. Kenny is also going after the title. Because he is also going after the title and trying to get to MJF, he needs the wins. So Kenny got the victory, which is fine, because that builds the more of these guys that get the wins and build up momentum to go after MJF, I think the more fun we're going to have with it over the course of the year. Obviously, Omega's a huge babyface, so that's not a big surprise. He also partially runs the company, so him getting the victory here, totally fine with it. I have no idea who else is going to get thrown at him. He did a big promo after the match to call out Callis, which, by the way, I'm not sure how many people noticed this. While Kenny was doing the promo, they cut to Don Callis, and he was like half cowering in the timekeeper's area, and he had the ring bell hammer in his hand, but he was like maybe kind of trying to hide it. He wasn't brandishing it. He was just kind of holding it down at his side. And I noticed that. And so if anything had popped off, I'm sure he would have tried to use it as a weapon. I know he's used it as a weapon against Omega in the past. So that was just a fun little... The storytelling is so good. It's so good. So I'm sure somebody else from the Callis family is going to come after Omega, and Omega is just going to use them to stack wins to get to MJF, which fine. That's totally cool. I'll forego 2026 is for the heels for certain storytelling things, and this was one of them. So congrats to Omega for getting the first victory in what I'm assuming is going to be a long string of victories to go after MJF to try and get the title and then inevitably lose, because there's no way MJF is losing that title this year unless he gets injured, and that would suck real bad. So, moving on. After that, we had a new segment called Technique by Taz. And Taz broke down part of the match last week between Bandito and MJF. And he was like, here are the two submission moves that MJF used in a very good way in order to win that match. And he talked about each of them. And there was a point where he was talking about the submission that MJF used to actually wear Bandito down a lot, and he had an S grip, and they put they did the CSI type thing where they put the box with the information, then the line, and then the little diamond for where you're supposed to be paying attention, but the box had the name of whatever was happening in it, and it said S grip Jones. And this whole thing with Taz and insert thing Jones runs very well. I feel like they use it a lot, but he uses it in such a way that it makes sense and we have fun with it. So S-Grip Jones for the win. It was a very quick segment. It was probably a 2-minute segment. So they'll probably do it for a few more weeks just to highlight stuff that had happened, last week, this match, here's the thing that happened, here's how everything got handled, here's the technique behind it. So It was fine. It was cool. It was interesting. It was, I don't think I've seen anything quite like that in quite a long time. And even then, it wasn't something specifically like that. It was more of just like, oh, here's what happened between guy A and guy B, and how the victory came about. Not so much like, oh yeah, if you look at how he's doing this, he has his hands in this specific position to help make sure that everything in this moveset stays together and wears down his opponent. So I'm cool with it. Let's keep it. I like Taz. It's going to be a lot of goofy shenanigans, but let's roll with it. Second to last match of the night was Timeless Love Bombs versus Penelope Ford and Megan Bayne. It was a fine match. I'm glad Penelope is good and healed up and can do stuff in the ring. It does look like there's a few things that she takes her time with and doesn't overexert herself because of her elbow injury. The only things that really stood out in that match to me, realistically, the only couple of notes I took were, number one, Toni Storm got thrown to the outside. Mina and Bayne were in the ring. Bayne picked up Mina, put her in like kind of a fireman's carry, and then ran and threw her over the top rope at Toni Storm, but completely missed Toni Storm. She went over Toni Storm and hit the floor with kind of a decent thud. And Toni instantly, like, she tried to catch her and, like, go up, but there was no way she would have gotten hit, like, directly in the face. So she kind of, like, tried to catch her, but it was, I don't know if it was a botch or if they meant to do that just to show how strong Bayne was. Because she threw her. She threw Mina a lot, far, and landed with a plap. So Toni checked on Mina. There was a whole thing for like 2 minutes. When everything was said and done, Mina seemed to be fine. She got back into the ring, and they had way more back and forth. I'm sorry. Before Mina got up and was like good and like back in the ring, she did get up. Toni was helping her stand, and then Bayne took Penelope Ford and did the same thing, but this time actually hit both Toni and Mina. So I'm thinking that's what it was supposed to be, and they just overshot the spot, or Toni wasn't in the right spot for the spot. But then, so that was the thing. So then they all get back in the ring. There's a lot more back and forth. Mina put on a pretty good show, even after hitting the floor from 10 feet in the air, 12 feet in the air. And at the end of it all, Ford and Bayne got the win, which, again, 2026, year of the heel. Let's get this done. So it was a very good match. It didn't look... It looked like Bayne finally has, like, some weaknesses as far as, like, Toni was giving it to her. Mina hit her with a couple of things that made it look like she was going out for a second. So knowing that Bayne can be taken down, plus, but with Bayne and Ford getting the win, double plus. I'm cool with both of those things. Two things can be true at the same time, and this worked out very well, in my opinion. So, good win. Everything worked. Shafir did make an appearance near the end, because it was actually Mina who got pinned, and Toni was outside the ring, and she was trying to get back in, but then Shafir popped out of nowhere and put Mother's Milk. What is this shit? She put the Mother's Milk on Toni Storm, stopped her from being able to get into the ring to save Mina, and that's how Bayne and Ford got the win. So, cool with it, no problem, moving forward. Then we came to the final match of the night, and I took 0 notes because it was all action. I couldn't look away. If I had taken half a second to look down to write something, I would have missed 4 different freaking things. So it was Swerve versus Knight, and it was fast paced. It was hard hitting. There were spots on the apron. There were spots in the ring. There were spots outside the ring. Swerve gave Knight a pile driver on the guardrail. There was a time where Swerve was going to try and give Knight a powerbomb on the steps, and then Knight reversed it and stood up and flung Swerve from the top of the steps to the floor. It was so good. It was so good. Like, I have no notes on it because the entire thing would have been all notes, and I enjoyed every second of it. Yeah, it was a great way to end the show. It was a great showing for Knight to prove that like, him and Bailey are still definitely good singles competitors. They make an amazing tag team. They are now trios champions with Paige. So, like, those guys can go, and it really got proved today with the match between Swerve and Knight. So I can't even describe how great that match was, because there was so much going on I wouldn't know where to start. If you have time, go find clips of it. Go check AEW's YouTube channel. I'm sure they're going to post like a 5-minute video of the wind down to the whole thing. I mean, because I think it was like almost a 20-minute match, which was, again, so good. So if you get time, go watch Swerve versus Knight and just enjoy every second of it. That's all I can say. Knight did this. They both were doing like weird don't jump reversal things over the top rope. Knight did a whole thing over and then across the apron and then over the turnbuckles, and it was so good. It was so good. I love wrestling. It's the best telenovela of all time. So that's it. I'm gonna stop now because it's so late. They ran overtime like 12 or 13 minutes on the show, and it's very late, and I have to go to work tomorrow. So have a great week. I'll see you Saturday night when I post the video for Collision, and just be good to yourselves. Peace.